The deepest recesses of our planet hold mysteries that both fascinate and terrify us. These are tales not of flesh and blood, but of cosmic horrors beyond our understanding. Among these chilling narratives, one stands out as particularly eerie. The residents of a remote region of Canada disappeared overnight, leaving behind a haunting enigma that continues to baffle scientists and investigators alike. Join me as we unravel the enigma of the missing town, an enigmatic occurrence that challenges the boundaries between reality and the realms of fantasy. Welcome to our channel, where we bring you the most enigmatic and terrifying mysteries of the cosmos. On October 19, 1960, fate befell a group of miners who ventured into the heart of the Mammoth Cave in Kentucky. That fateful day marked the beginning of a terrifying ordeal that would captivate the nation. We invite you to delve into this gripping tale of survival and resilience in the face of unimaginable darkness. In the bleak expanse of Canada's desolate north, nestled amidst the daunting peaks of the barren lands, lay a modest town. Its existence was as solitary as the vast wilderness that embraced it, its lifeblood intertwined with the fortunes of the unforgiving terrain. In this forgotten corner of the world, survival was a daily conquest against the unrelenting grip of winter. Time in this isolated town seemed to flow differently, unhurried and steeped in the timeless rhythm of nature's indifference. Then everything changed in the blink of an eye, shattering the illusion of stability and plunging the town into an abyss of mystery. On the frigid morning of November 23, 1950, a trapper named Joe Lale awoke with a profound sense of foreboding. Driven by an inexplicable urge to flee the confines of his dwelling, he embarked on a journey that would lead him to the heart of a chilling enigma. Upon reaching the town, he discovered a scene that defied comprehension. It was as if the very essence of the town had been abruptly erased from existence. The streets were deserted, houses devoid of inhabitants, fires burning listlessly within empty rooms. It was as if the townspeople had vanished into thin air, abandoning their lives in the midst of their daily routines. Lale found meals left untouched on tables, clothing scattered as if hastily discarded, and children's toys lying abandoned in the street. There was no indication of a struggle, no sign of panic, just an eerie stillness that permeated every corner of the town. Amidst this disconcerting tableau, something else caught his attention. The town's dogs were emaciated, their bodies gaunt and frozen, suggesting that the townspeople had been gone for an extended period. Lale's apprehension grew. Had the residents fled in the dead of the night, abandoning their beloved pets to a desolate fate, or had something more sinister transpired? As he continued his exploration, he stumbled upon the town's graveyard, and what he saw there sent a shudder down his spine. Grave markers bore fresh dig sites, indicating that the townspeople had not been buried in the local cemetery. It was evident that someone had exhumed their bodies, violating the sanctity of their final resting place. In a desperate attempt to piece together the puzzle of their disappearance, Lale discovered a lone note tucked inside a dwelling. The message was cryptic, offering no concrete answers, but it revealed a horrifying possibility. Someone had entered the town, warning the residents to flee. But why? What impending doom had driven them from their homes, from their loved ones, from their very roots? The absence of any substantial evidence left Lale grappling with a multitude of questions. Had the townspeople been the victims of foul play, abducted by unseen assailants who sought to erase all traces of their presence? Or was there something more sinister afoot, something lurking in the shadows of their quaint town? As the days turned into weeks, the mystery deepened, casting its eerie tendrils over the hearts and minds of those who sought answers. The desolate town became a haunting specter, a grim reminder of the enigmas that sometimes have no resolution. Faced with mounting uncertainties, authorities reached out to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, hoping to unravel the enigma that had befallen the town. A team of seasoned investigators descended upon the town, eager to piece together the fragments of this baffling puzzle. They meticulously combed through every nook and cranny, searching for clues to shed light on the enigma. Yet, as they delved deeper into the labyrinth of the case, they uncovered more questions than answers. Among the most perplexing aspects of the mystery was the complete absence of struggle. There were no signs of forced entry, no indications of violence, no evidence of chaos or panic. It was as if the townspeople had vanished voluntarily, leaving behind a haunting tableau of their former lives. As the investigation progressed, whispers began to circulate among the residents of nearby settlements. Some spoke of strange lights that had been witnessed in the skies above the town in the days leading up to the disappearances. Others recounted unsettling tales of eerie silence that had fallen over the town, a silence so profound it was palpable. Then there were the animal carcasses. Dozens of horses, dogs and cattle found frozen and emaciated on the outskirts of the town. These creatures had apparently been driven to the edge of the settlement and left to die, their bodies becoming silent sentinels of a mystery that defied explanation. All of these elements wove a tapestry of intrigue, leaving the investigators baffled and the townspeople gripped by fear. Was there a malevolent force at play, something sinister that had infiltrated their midst? Or were the answers hidden in the mundane, overlooked details of everyday life? Amidst the swirling theories and unsettling accounts, one resident came forward with a tale that sent shivers down their spine. They spoke of a mysterious individual who had been seen lurking around the town, a stranger who seemed out of place in their close-knit community. This enigmatic newcomer had been noticed by several townspeople, yet no one could recall their name, their origins, or their purpose in the town. Their presence, shrouded in secrecy, had aroused suspicion, but none had imagined that this enigmatic figure would become the center of a terrifying mystery. Could this elusive individual be connected to the bizarre occurrences plaguing the town? Did they hold the key to the unsettling events that had unfolded, or were they merely a pawn in a grander scheme orchestrated by forces beyond human comprehension? As the investigation reached fever pitch, a crucial clue emerged from the depths of the town's archives. An old ledger, weathered by time, revealed a series of inexplicable financial transactions. Accounts showed substantial sums of money being withdrawn from the banks by several prominent townspeople in the days leading up to their disappearance. But what could have motivated such actions? Had the townspeople stumbled upon a hidden danger, prompting them to flee with their life savings? Or were these withdrawals part of a sinister plot orchestrated by unseen hands? The mere suggestion that external forces might be at play sent shockwaves through the community. Was there a hidden malevolence lurking in their midst, manipulating events from the shadows? Or were these peculiar transactions merely red herrings, designed to mislead those seeking the truth? As the pieces of the puzzle slowly came together, the investigators found themselves at a crossroads. The evidence they had gathered painted a picture of confusion and chaos, leaving them grappling with more questions than answers. Was it possible that a malevolent force had infiltrated their midst, preying upon the unsuspecting townspeople? Or were the answers hidden in the mundane, overlooked details of everyday life? The weight of the mystery pressed heavily upon the investigators, determined to solve the enigma of the missing town. They reached out to renowned experts in the field of cryptozoology, hoping to shed light on the enigma that had puzzled them thus far. Cryptozoologists brought with them a wealth of knowledge and experience in the realm of the unknown, eager to explore every possible explanation. They scrutinized the accounts of strange lights in the sky, the unsettling silence that had fallen over the town, and the animal carcasses found on its outskirts. Could there be a creature lurking in the shadows? Something that had driven the townspeople to abandon their homes and flee for their lives? Or were these sightings mere figments of overactive imaginations, distorted by fear and uncertainty? The theories ranged from the mythical to the scientific, keeping the investigators on their toes as they delved deeper into the enigma. As the investigation reached its final stages, a sense of dread settled over the town. The lack of concrete answers left residents on edge, fearing the worst. Was there a malevolent entity residing among them, waiting to strike? Or were the disappearances merely a tragic accident, a cruel twist of fate that had befallen the unsuspecting townspeople? The weight of the mystery hung heavy in the air, unanswered questions echoing through the empty streets. As the twilight hours descended, casting long shadows across the town, the investigators huddled together, sharing their insights and theories one last time. Despite their tireless efforts, they had come up empty-handed, unable to provide closure to the distraught families or the curious onlookers. And so the mystery of the missing town remained unsolved, a haunting enigma that continued to captivate the public imagination. The story of the missing town serves as a chilling reminder of the limits of human understanding. In the face of the unknown, our rational minds often fail us, leaving us at the mercy of fear and uncertainty. Whether there was a malevolent force at play, orchestrating the disappearances for nefarious purposes, or whether the events were merely a tragic accident, the impact on the community was profound. The absence of answers left a gaping void, a wound that refused to heal. As the years passed, the memory of the missing town faded into obscurity, becoming a mere footnote in the annals of local lore. Yet for those who dared to dwell on the enigma, it served as a haunting reminder of the fragility of human existence and the relentless grip of the unknown. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing to support us. And now, if you dare, step closer to the screen and peer into the abyss. For those who survived the trek to the Northwest Territories, the world they returned to would never feel quite right. No matter how many layers of clothing they donned, the biting cold of Lake Anjikuni seeped into their bones. Their fires burned bright despite frigid temperatures, and every shadow seemed pregnant with lurking dangers. Most harrowing were the nights. As darkness fell, the silence grew thick enough to choke on. Then the whispers started, weaving tales of loss and despair, drawing them inexorably towards the gaping maw of the ice-jammed lake. Some resisted, fleeing back to the relative safety of the outpost. Others, drawn by an unseen force, ventured closer. Those who went missing were never found, but there were signs of their passage: sled tracks leading to nowhere, a single lost mitten, or an abandoned rifle lying across the snow like a fallen soldier. One evening, the sergeant's deputy, Lael Armin Lurin, decided to investigate. His partner, a seasoned tracker named Charlie, tried to dissuade him, but LaRue was resolute. Armed with a lantern, a revolver and a compass, he set out, venturing cautiously deeper into the frozen wasteland. As twilight bled into darkness, he saw a strange blue light dancing across the ice-jammed waters. Drawn to it like a moth to a flame, he pressed on. Suddenly, the silence shattered. He heard a sound like drums beating on the ice, accompanied by an unearthly whistling. Then he saw them. Figures clad in furs, scurrying across the ice, their faces hidden behind hoods. They moved with an unnatural fluidity, gliding over the frozen ground without a sound. Then, just as suddenly, they vanished. Fear clawing at his throat, Lore returned to the outpost, shaken to his core. He described what he had seen and heard, fearing madness lurked at the lake. But his report was met with skepticism. The others had seen nothing, and reason demanded an explanation. After careful consideration, Laurent returned alone to the lake, determined to solve the mystery. This time he brought more supplies and reinforcements. Arriving at the edge of the frozen expanse, the party split up, searching the ice for any sign of life. Lorraine explored further, the blue light now visible in the darkening sky. As he walked, he noticed a strange ring of stones, unlike any structure he had seen before. Inside the ring, nestled in the snow, were remnants of a fire. Lorraine knelt beside it, noting the imprint of a kettle and half-melted chunks of wood. Then he spotted footprints leading away from the fire and into the deepening shadows. Lorraine followed, his heart pounding with each step. The footprints led to a rise overlooking the lake. There he saw them again. The hooded figures gathered around another fire. They sang in voices like rustling leaves. Despite their best efforts, Lorraine and his men remained hidden. As dawn broke, the figures vanished, leaving behind a faint smell of wood smoke and fear. Now certain that something sinister lay at the heart of the lake, Lorraine ordered his men to camp in shifts, keeping watch over the icy expanse. Each man was armed, ready to defend against whatever might emerge from the shadows. They watched, weary and wary, as day yielded to night. The whispers returned, swirling around the men like icy fingers. Then the drumming began, a steady tattoo on the ice. The men gripped their weapons tightly, peering into the darkness. Then they saw the light, not a reflection of the aurora, but something more, something that moved with intent. From the corner of his eye, one of the men saw a shape detach itself from the light, slinking closer. Fear contorted his face. Had he imagined it? Was the fatigue playing tricks on his mind? Lorraine, his face grim, motioned for quiet. They watched, holding their breath as the shape drew nearer. It was human in form, yet distorted, its features stretched and skewed as if glimpsed through a funhouse mirror. Its eyes glowed with an eerie light, sending shivers down the men's spines. Lorraine raised his gun, his finger tightening on the trigger. The creature stopped, sensing danger. For a moment, it stood motionless, then melted back into the darkness from which it had come. Dawn arrived, bringing with it the promise of safety. Yet the creature's presence lingered like a bad omen. Lorraine knew he had seen something that defied explanation, something that shook his belief in the familiar world. With a heavy heart, Lorraine reported his findings to the nearest jail. But as always, the message took days to reach civilization. By the time help arrived, the village was nothing but a ghost story. Houses buried under snowdrifts, tools abandoned mid-task, and huskies skeletal from neglect. The inhabitants were gone without a trace, leaving behind a haunting tableau of everyday life interrupted. The officers searched, hoping to uncover evidence of foul play or some natural disaster. But the village revealed no answers, only more questions. There were no signs of a struggle, no indication of panic, and no weather event that could account for the sudden disappearance of 30 people. Days turned into weeks and the investigation stalled. Finally, Sergeant Nelson reached the conclusion that no foul play was involved. The people of Anjikuni had simply vanished. But as the outpost emptied for the summer, a chill settled over the remaining staff. They felt the spectral gaze of the missing villagers, heard the phantom howling of dogs, and saw the unsettling blue light shimmering on the ice. One trapper, Elias Thompson, decided to return to the village site. But, unlike Lael, he came prepared. He brought cameras, recording equipment, and extra ammunition. He wanted proof, a tangible piece of the enigma to show the world what he found was a scene frozen in time. Fires burned in the huts, but were never extinguished. Food steamed in pots, its contents spoiled, yet untouched. Sleds and kayaks rested neatly outside, as if their owners had stepped away for a moment. But most disturbing were the huskies, gaunt from neglect, yet alive. They stood as silent sentinels over a village that no longer existed. Thompson scribbled notes by the dim light of his lantern, the sound of the wind whistling through the empty houses, and then he heard it, a low hum like metal scraping against ice, vibrating through the frozen ground. He looked up, startled, and saw the sky above the village was not dark, but painted in a sickly blue. A light pulsed rhythmically, as if breathing. He thought he saw figures moving within the glow, fleeting silhouettes that vanished when he blinked. His instrument spiked and sputtered, failing to record the phenomena. Panic threatened to overwhelm him. What had he unleashed by coming here? Fleeing back to the outpost, he pored over his notes and recordings, seeking answers, finding only more questions. He saw a logical progression of events, but the why remained a cruel jest. Back at the village, the humming returned, louder this time, shaking the frozen ground beneath his feet. Then the snow shifted. In the distance, a dark shape seemed to writhe beneath the ice. It rose, and Thompson gasped. It was a humanoid form, tall and emaciated, its skin stretched taut over sharp angles. It moved with an unsettling grace, its eyes glowing with an eerie light. It glided closer, beckoning with a finger. Thompson scrambled back, knocking over his equipment. Paralyzed with fear, he watched as the figure approached. It loomed over him, its breath forming frosty clouds in the frigid air. And then it spoke, its voice like the rasp of dead leaves. It beckoned again, and Thompson, unable to resist its silent command, found himself rising, drawn inexorably toward the ice-jammed lake. As he walked, the snow gave way beneath him, revealing a cavity of darkness. He stumbled, falling forward onto the frozen surface. The last thing he saw was the figure standing at the edge of the hole, its eyes gleaming with triumph. Then everything went black. In the days that followed, the outpost became a scene of frantic activity. Search parties combed the frozen landscape, their shouts echoing across the silent ice. They found no trace of Thompson, no sign of struggle, and no answers. Was he lost to the unforgiving wilderness or taken by the very forces that had erased the village? The mystery deepened, leaving the outpost staff haunted by the specter of Anjikuni, Soon the outpost itself seemed to be affected by the village's fate. Supplies dwindled inexplicably, tools went missing, and whispers slithered through the halls at night. Fear hung heavy, suffocating the men. Then one night, a fire erupted, consuming the wooden structure in an inferno of orange and red. Only the skeletal remains of the outpost marked the spot where 30 men had vanished. It seemed the very essence of Anjikuni was spreading, corrupting all who came too close. Theories abounded, each more fantastical than the last. Some spoke of a magnetic anomaly, while others blamed vengeful spirits. But none could truly explain what had happened or why nature's secrets were so fiercely guarded. Today, the location of the village remains a closely guarded secret, known only to a handful of indigenous elders and explorers. The stories have evolved into chilling legends, whispered around flickering campfires to remind newcomers of the respect owed to the land. It is said that if you venture too close to the forbidden lake, you might hear the ghostly howls of dogs, witness the ethereal blue light dancing on the ice, or glimpse fleeting shadows moving just beyond your sight. And should you see the blue man, if you survive the encounter, you will never be the same again. The legend serves as a reminder that some places are best left unexplored. Some mysteries are better left unsolved, and some vanishings defy the boundaries of human understanding. The years passed and the legend of the vanished village grew, whispered from one generation of trappers and explorers to the next. Yet, despite the layers of folklore, no one could explain the phenomena with logic alone. By the 1940s, the site had become a forbidden destination for most, shrouded not only in snow and ice, but in a palpable sense of dread. A Canadian historian named Eliza Thornton became obsessed with uncovering the truth, armed with old RCMP reports, trapper journals, and oral testimonies from local Inuit. She embarked on an expedition to Lake Anjikuni, determined to reconcile myth with history. Thornton arrived at the edge of the frozen lake just as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the land in shades of twilight. The air was thick and still, as if time itself had grown cautious. The village appeared deceptively normal at first, huts aligned neatly, sleds in position, fires long extinguished. But as night fell, Thornton began to notice irregularities. Shadows shifted unnaturally across the snow, and faint blue glows pulsed intermittently from the horizon, much like Lael and Thompson had described decades earlier. She felt it before she saw it, an oppressive presence that seemed to hover over the empty homes. Hours into her first night, she observed movement, thin, indistinct figures weaving through the village. At first, she assumed it was the wind distorting snow flurries, but the forms moved deliberately, avoiding her flashlight's beam, passing through structures as if the walls were merely illusions. Whispered voices echoed faintly, in multiple languages, fragmented and garbled, yet clearly human. Thornton's notes reveal her terror as she discovered the graves. Once carefully measured and mapped by Nelson, they now seemed altered. The icy depressions appeared fresh, and the ground shimmered as though alive. When she brushed the snow aside, she found nothing but air-empty voids where bodies should have rested. The headstones, once stacked neatly, were scattered at odd angles, etched with markings she did not recognize, symbols that seemed to move when observed from the corner of her eye. On the third night, she experienced the blue lights in full. They erupted across the sky in unnatural patterns, casting elongated shadows that danced and twisted. Instruments malfunctioned, cameras froze mid-shot, compasses spun uncontrollably, and radios emitted a static howl that resembled human screams. One of her team members, a local guide named Nanak, insisted that the light was Torn Roth watching, and begged Thornton to leave. But curiosity, once ignited, cannot be easily quelled. As she delved deeper into the village, Thornton discovered subtle signs of prior habitation: a child's mitten, a carved wooden toy, utensils lined neatly on a table. They were preserved almost miraculously despite decades of exposure. In the center of the village, she found a small can of stones surrounding a glowing crystal, radiating a cold blue light. When she touched it, she was overcome with visions. The villagers, living normally, then suddenly swept into a vortex of light, faces frozen in terror, bodies suspended in midair before vanishing entirely. Thornton's journal later described the haunting realization. The village had not simply been abandoned, it had been extracted from reality, pulled into a dimension just beyond human perception. The huskies, skeletal and emaciated, had been left behind because they were too bound to the physical plane to follow. The blue light was a bridge, an interface between worlds, an unseen force indifferent to humanity. By day 4, the team began hearing chanting, not carried by the wind but emanating from the very ground. It was a low guttural sound, vibrating through the ice. Shadows formed humanoid shapes, rising and receding, circling the village as though performing an ancient, eternal ritual. Thornton theorized that the Inuit legends of Torn Roth were not merely myth, they were encoded warnings of a power that could manipulate life and death, reality and illusion. Suddenly, the team's camp was surrounded by the silhouettes of the villagers themselves, or what remained of them. Ethereal and translucent, they moved in loops, repeating the last moments before their disappearance. Faces showed terror, resignation, and pleading simultaneously. One child turned and locked eyes with Thornton, mouth moving silently, forming words she could feel rather than hear. "Leave, before it takes you to..." Despite warnings, Thornton could not look away. She followed the lights to the edge of the lake, where the ice seemed to shimmer and bend. Shapes hovered above the surface, large elongated forms, some resembling boats, others cylindrical, glowing with the same blue light described by Armand Lurin decades prior. It was then that Thornton understood the full horror. This was no natural phenomenon. It was deliberate, a force, or intelligence, beyond comprehension, selectively harvesting those it desired. The team attempted to retreat, but the path back was distorted. Trails of snow that had been clear moments before now twisted into impossible geometries. Trees appeared where none had grown. Time itself seemed to warp. Hours passed in seconds, and seconds lingered like days. Panic set in. Nanak whispered frantic prayers, while Thornton scribbled furiously in her notebook, documenting every detail with trembling hands. The climax came at dawn. The blue light intensified, converging over the village in a pulsating column. The ethereal villagers converged as well, rising from the snow, encircling the team in a spinning vortex. Those who were closest were lifted gently but irresistibly, faces contorted in silent screams. Thornton dragged toward the light, barely managed to throw herself to the ground, shielding her journal. The last thing she saw before collapsing was the huskies, skeletal but alive, watching with eyes glowing faintly blue, as if witnessing the extraction of an entire reality layer. Thornton awoke hours later, alone, the village silent once more. The ice and snow were undisturbed, as if nothing had happened, except for the journal, which now emitted a faint blue glow. She fled the region, never to return. The journal, when later examined, revealed pages that had been written in her own hand but contained events she had no memory of recording. Detailed maps of impossible structures, notes in unknown languages, and warnings for future generations. In the years that followed, researchers returned intermittently, but none could recreate Thornton's experiences. Witnesses claimed fleeting glimpses of the village under strange lights, shadows that moved contrary to natural laws, and a lingering sense of being watched. Some vanished entirely, joining the long list of missing persons, leaving only rumors and eerie photographs behind. Today, Lake Anjikuni remains a frozen enigma. It is a place where science, folklore, and the supernatural collide, where the thin veneer of reality is tested, and where curiosity carries immense risk. The vanished village serves as a grim reminder. Some places are not meant to be understood, some forces not to be challenged. Those who study the tale continue to debate. Was it extraterrestrial, a rift between dimensions, a vengeful spirit, or simply a mystery the universe has chosen to keep? One thing is certain: any who dare approach Lake Anjikuni after twilight may glimpse the blue light, may hear the huskies lament, and may never return. And so, the story endures, whispered across decades, frozen in memory like the eternal ice. The village may be gone from our world, yet it lingers an invisible scar upon the wilderness, a haunting echo of lives interrupted, and a warning that some mysteries are far too dangerous to unravel. But the story doesn't end there. Decades later, The lure of the unknown proved too strong for some. Explorers and scientists drawn to the enigma of the vanished village returned to Lake Anjikuni, hoping to uncover answers where none had been found before. What they discovered would blur the line between reality and nightmare. To this day, chilling echoes of the past linger around these parts. For those brave or foolish enough to venture out onto the frozen expanse of Lake Anjikuni after dark, the wind carries whispers of a tragedy that defies understanding. The spectral glow of a blue light can be seen flickering in the distance, beckoning the curious toward the edge of the lake where sanity itself seems to erode. It's said that if you listen closely, you can hear the mournful howl of dogs echoing across the ice, a lament for a lost way of life and a warning for those who dare disturb the silence. Some say the spirits of the villagers trapped within the blue light are restless, seeking to pull unsuspecting travelers into their ethereal realm. If you see the dancing blue lights and hear the mournful cries of the huskies, legend says you must turn back immediately. For if you venture closer, the village will reveal itself, and with it, the fate that awaits those who enter its borders. The ghostly remnants of the houses stand silent and empty. Tombstones lie overturned and cryptic symbols adorn the ground. And if you touch the ice-jammed lake, it's said that the cold seeps into your bones, a chilling reminder of the unnatural forces at play. Should you step foot into the village, the boundaries of time and space shift and distort. You'll witness the villagers frozen in their final moments, suspended between life and death, their vacant eyes staring sightlessly into the frozen wasteland around them. The allure of the village may be strong, but the price of entry is eternal damnation. The lake holds secrets best left undisturbed, and the village of Starvation Creek is a testament to that truth. Those who disappear within its confines are never seen again, their souls forever trapped in the ethereal embrace of the blue light.